And you're live.
Okay, I think we're live. So, hey everyone, thanks for joining me here on this intermittent fasting Q&A live. My name is Kayla Cox, for those of you who don't know me. I'm the author of the Laid Back Guide to Intermittent Fasting, which is all about how I lost 80 pounds with intermittent fasting, mostly OMAD during that time. I walk 6 miles a day. I don't count calories. I don't limit carbs. I'm not keto. I just eat all the food. And I'm also the founder of Slow and Steady Success Academy, which is an online academy that teaches you how to lose weight sustainably and keep it off. And we also have a private members only Facebook group where I do weekly group coaching sessions. And so with that, my husband is in here, JR. He is the one in the chat doing the moderating comments and posting links. You know, if I mention things that maybe you need to go offsite to, he's doing that. So thank you, Jay, for doing that.
You're welcome.
I don't know if you can hear that, but he said you're welcome. So let's get started. If you have any questions about intermittent fasting, weight loss, walking 6 miles a day, weight maintenance, any of that stuff, leave it in the chat section and we will answer it. So first of all, from the YouTube community tab, I've had some questions. So the first one comes from Carolyn S. And she asked, what app do you use that averages your weight? And so when I was first starting this whole weight loss journey, I couldn't find any that did this. So what I personally use, just because this is the system I've just always used, and so this is what I do, I track my daily weight in the Fitbit app. And what that does is it does give you a 7-day average once a week. So like I think on every Sunday for me, it will tell me the 7-day average, but it doesn't give me a daily 7-day average. Now, there's two other ones, Happy Scale app, which is only on iOS, and then there's Libra Scale app on Android. Both of those have like an averaging thing that it does, and averaging your weight I have found to be super duper helpful because it doesn't take all of the fluctuation out of it, because sometimes even when you're doing everything right, the weight will fluctuate up a little bit, but over time you want to see that trend going downwards. But what I noticed was and I read about this a long time ago when I was starting out on the weight loss journey this past time. It said that people who average their weight did better with weight loss, and that made sense to me, because your daily numbers can change by a lot. So if you weigh every single day, you'll certainly notice that your weight goes up some days and down some days, and it can kind of be difficult to know, like, are you on the right track? And if you only weigh once a week, here's the thing: you may weigh on a really low day one week and a really high day the next week. So then you can kind of get the wrong message. You might think, oh, well, I gained this week. And in reality, what can actually be happening is you may even be losing if you look at your average. So I think averaging is great. I have a weight tracking spreadsheet for free. It's on my website. And Jay will link to that, I'm sure. But and it will keep track of your 7-day average. So I personally have this spreadsheet that I've been keeping track of my weight since 2015. Yeah, that's the first time I'd weighed in a really long time, like in February of 2015. So I've been keeping track in a spreadsheet. And I still do that about once a week. I'll go in there and enter in those numbers, because I like to see my daily 7-day average and how it's trending. I just like to have all that data in a spreadsheet, because with apps, sometimes you never know if you're going to lose your data or whatever. So I just like having that there. And I like to manipulate data. I'm kind of a spreadsheet kind of nerd, I guess. So anyway, so there you go. Dry Wit Lass said, do you or did you feel terribly sleepy after one meal of the day? I don't. There are occasions where I have noticed some sleepiness, and that I think is just, I mean, it just makes sense, right? Like, you're hungry. By the time your one meal comes up, you're ready to eat, and then when you eat, then you just kind of are ready for a nap sometimes. It doesn't happen to me very often, although my meal is later in the day. So by the time I eat at around 6:30, my day's over. So, well, except for on nights like tonight, but generally speaking, I'm ready to relax anyway. So I don't look at that as a bad thing. some people have noticed, like if they try to do OMAD, but it's like right in the middle of the day, or like in their after, like say like 2 o'clock or something, sometimes that can be an issue because you're too sleepy afterwards. Some people have really found that. So, but not for me, not in general. Occasionally, but not very often at all. Shiraksha Gopal said, you have spoken about 2 meals a day, like two MAD is how that's written, 2 MAD or TMAD. I would like to know if the scale started going up once you decided to maintain on 2 MAD. I have personally started doing OMAD and wanted to transition into a 16-8 method. I did try it for a week and I noticed all the weight coming back on. Have you experienced this issue? So, okay, the first thing I'd say is 1 week of time is not a good indicator. To me, that's not enough time. My weight personally fluctuates by a lot. So I have to look at, say, 6 to 8 weeks data, and then I try to say, okay, what's the weight doing? And this is, to me, like, you have to go with your own comfort level as far as like how long you try stuff, and how much you experiment. And it's fun, I think, to experiment because it's kind of freeing to say, okay, well, let me try this for 6 weeks and see how it goes. It does kind of take nerves of steel if you notice the scale kind of creeping up, and then you're like, okay, now wait, should I stop now? Is this a bad experiment? Or, will the weight come back down? Because like I said, my weight fluctuates a good bit. So, personally, like, I would say I haven't experimented with like 2 meals a day consistently enough over a period of time to say one way or the other. Again, I think what can happen is when you're in weight loss mode, or even when you start to maintain, you can kind of freak out whenever the scale goes up even a little bit. And so then you kind of have to weigh that, and you have to say, like, do I want to experiment, or do I want to stick with what's safe and what I know works? And that's up to everybody, like you just have to go with your own kind of thing. And then you also have to think about any other variables that have changed, and it can all be kind of difficult. But I would say, like, you were doing OMAD and you wanted to go back to a 16-8. So it sounds to me like you didn't really like OMAD. And if that's the case, then I would say you might want to give yourself some more time to adjust, because another thing to consider is when you're doing OMAD, you can just like sit there and eat a real big meal, right? And I think that takes some time to transition back to like what you're used to eating with like 1 meal a day versus what portion sizes are like when you're doing 2 meals a day. So it kind of depends on how long you were doing OMAD, I think. But just, play with it. And the main thing is, don't like throw the baby out with the bathwater. So in other words, like, don't just say, well, 16-8, I'm going to gain all the way back. And then you just go right back to OMAD, which you don't like maybe. Instead, just try to find that sweet spot that you do enjoy and that is giving you the results that you're wanting. So hopefully that helps you. None, I don't know, I guess no name, on the YouTube tab said, do you walk on your cheat day? Yes, I do. I've since 2016, in 2016, that's when I was losing the bulk of my weight. I walked 6 miles, 7 days a week. So every single day I was walking. In 2017, so late 2016, when I started maintaining, and in 2017, I experimented with taking days off from that, like especially on Sunday. A lot of times I would just say like, I'm just maintaining now. So what, I was just experimenting to see like, how do I feel when I don't walk 6 miles a day? Like, do I feel better? Do I feel worse? And what I found for me was I feel better when I walk the 6 miles just every day, like especially on a Sunday. I'm the type that has trouble just not doing anything at all. And so if I didn't have any kind of physical activity and I was taking the day off, I just like didn't feel as good. And so, but then in 2018, I went back to walking. At the end of 2017, that's when I started this channel. I went back to walking just 6 miles a day, 7 days a week. And I've been doing that since then. I mean, I occasionally take a day off, like if we have a travel day, because we're full-time RVers. So there are occasionally days where it's like we've been driving all day long and like we get to a place and then it's like time for supper and then time to go to sleep. Um, uh, but I'm still, I would say, I feel like I'm very, very consistent with the getting 6 miles a day, every day, every day. There we go. Oh, thanks for the super chat, Angie Ratana. She asked, trying to do a 36-hour water fast. You have a problem with hungry. Well, that is going to be a thing with a longer fast. Dealing with hunger is probably the number one thing about just intermittent fasting. Now, I don't know, and maybe you can give me some more details about like how used to fasting are you? But ultimately, this is a mental game. Okay, it is mental. It just is. And so I've only done one extended fast, and that was a 5-day fast. And I was very, 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 very used to OMAD at that point. So every day I'm pretty much doing a 24-hour fast, right? I mean, the difference for that particular one is in my normal day to day, I'm doing coffee with half and half 3 times during my fasting window. So that's a little bit of calories, which helps with hunger. But then on my 5-day fast, no calories at all. I had black coffee and that was it. And I will say, I didn't have a whole lot of problems with hunger, although the first, see, this is the thing. It's like the first 36 hours were probably the hardest part. And that's what you're trying to do is like a 36-hour fast. So what I would say is do your best and like just see how far you can get with this. The thing about hunger that I found for me, and always be careful with extended fast. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I just want everybody to know that like you should make sure that this is something health wise that's good for you. But stay busy. So just stay busy. Don't be around food if you can help it. Like my kids wanted me to sit there and eat with them. not sit and eat with them, but sit there while they had supper. It actually ended up not being difficult, but of course I was more used to the whole fasting thing. So I would say stay busy. If you find you're hungry, get up and do something else. Just anything else.
Yeah. He currently fasts for 18 hours every day.
Okay. So you're, so that's basically double what you're used to. So you're fasting normally for 18 hours a day. So if you are finding that like you're really hungry, like it's a mental thing, and that's the thing about like fasting, like for an extended period of time, you have to just stay busy and just be really stubborn. Like I am not going to eat until my fast is done. I mean, and so I would say on this one, if this is like your first time trying to do a 36-hour fast, just kind of just see how far you can go with it. Like just kind of look at it as a challenge and just say, okay, I think I can do this, and see how far you can get with it. But don't beat yourself up. Like if you end up not hitting the 36-hour mark, just try to like maybe set a little bit of a personal best here. Like you normally do an 18, how far can you get with it? You've got the 36-hour in mind, and I think you can do it. I really do think you can, but it takes, I think, being in the proper mental mindset. Like you have to believe you can do it, and you have to be just stubborn, just really, really stubborn, and try to stay really busy, and try not to do the things that you associate with eating. Well, sitting down at the table with your family, that's a tough one for me. It's like I want to sit there with them, but just get up and do something else. Keep your hands busy, keep your mind busy, write down, journal, and I think you can do it. I really do think you can. But I hope you'll let me know how it goes for you. Hunger is the thing, though. Hunger is the thing that you have to learn how to deal with intermittent fasting. There's so many different kinds of hunger. Like there's true hunger that like you are your body is saying I am hungry and it's telling you the truth, right? And then there's also I'm bored, or I'm stressed, or I'm tired. That all these things can kind of masquerade as hunger, or just habit. I'm in the habit of eating at 6:30 every day, so of course I get hungry. at 6:30 every day. So there you go. Okay, Suzanne Stokes said, hello. I just started intermittent fasting 3 days ago. I haven't had a lot of trouble with fasting. However, when I eat my meal, my stomach immediately starts aching and feels bloated. Can you tell me, is this something that will ever go away for me, or do I need to do something differently when breaking my fast? Okay, so I've never been picky about how I break my fast as far as what kind of foods. Like on my 5-day fast, I broke that thing with like a cheese and meat plate that we made and like peanut butter M&Ms. It was not like maybe some grape tomatoes. I took a picture of it, I think, but really it was not what most people would say to break a fast. A lot of people say like break a fast with bone broth. I've never had bone broth in my life. I don't really plan on it. But so I've never been that picky, although maybe my stomach is just kind of like not picky, you know. But the whole aching and feeling bloated might be you maybe are eating kind of fast. I'm a very fast eater. This is something I've had to train myself to approach my meal with more intention and to slow down and enjoy the meal and like not rush through the meal. And that has taken a lot of practice, and I'm still not perfect. And I think I sometimes like I will slip back into like kind of wolfing it down, and then I'll have to say, okay, let's try to be a little bit better. And I try to get a little bit better at it each day. So those are the first couple things. And it sounds like you went pretty quickly from maybe like normal eating patterns, 5-6 meals a day, maybe 3. I was always eating a lot more than that, but so if you're going pretty drastically, then it could be, that you're just not used to a bigger meal like you're eating at OMAD. So maybe try to go a little bit more gradual. Like if you think you are, you're eating pretty slow and you're eating the right amount, I would say maybe just try to back off of the OMAD. Like, so in other words, try maybe a 16-hour fast and then see how you do with that, digestively speaking, and then just go really slow with it and just play around with it and see. And I think you'll find that you do figure out the thing that works for you. Let's see. Joy Harrington. I'm sorry. I'm not sure if I said Joy or Joey. Jay was telling me before I got on camera that I keep saying Joey, and I'm a Southerner. I'm from Northeast Georgia, and apparently I have trouble with that name. So I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. But here we go. She asked, how often, if any, do you switch your fast, like to a 12-12 or a 16-8, etc.? And so first, let's take that question. Lately, I haven't been switching it much. I'm doing pretty much, I think this past week, for example, I'm just maintaining right now. I'm doing OMAD. I'm doing my regular like OMAD every day except for Sunday, and then Sunday is my cheat day. I'm still like experimenting with because my goal is to be between 140 and 145 with my 7-day average. However, I've also I've started doing a couple things like push-ups in the mornings, which not that has affected my fasting per se, but it is more of a like strength type exercise. And I've had allergies and a cold. So then my 7-day average has gone up a little bit above what I would want, like a couple of pounds above where I want to be. So I'm not really sure right now if that, I think my kind of my hypothesis is that all of that has to do with the allergies and the cold that I've been experiencing. Possibly. My husband has experienced the same kind of like upward fluctuation, and so it might be even our scale. I don't know. So like at this point, we're just like, it's not enough to really make me want to go buy a new scale. I'm really just kind of a wait and see. Like I'll give it another month and just kind of see. But I'm also I'm maintaining. But I'm like, well, I do want to try to say like 2 meals a day, sometimes 3 meals a day, just kind of play around with it. So I feel like I'm changing too many variables all at once. So I'm just going to kind of chill out for now and then start experimenting some more later. But I do prefer is also your walking is cumulative daily, right? And that is right. So it's not all done in one walk, but it's counted over my entire day. And yes, that's always the way I've counted it. Now, I've done it every which way. Like sometimes in the beginning, I wanted to like break it up into small little chunks throughout the day. And then sometimes I would get on a kick where it's like, I just want to get them all done first thing in the morning. And then other times it was like, it's like midnight right now and I'm getting my last steps in. And the only thing that ever mattered to me was that by midnight that night, I had 14,000 steps on my Fitbit, which was 6 miles. So there you go. If it Afzal asked, what time does your cheat day begin and end exactly? Could you please guide me, because I do OMAD from Monday to Saturday and Sunday is my cheat day too. So you're doing the exact same thing I'm doing. Okay, so it's funny, I think we talked about this maybe last week. I think Daniel Holmes talked about how, or he was asking about, midnight, when it hits midnight on Sunday, do you eat, or like how do you count that? And in the beginning, cheat day was like, do I want to say more important? Like it was more of a thing. Like we would have sleep on the couch night, but that's our like family night with our kids. We stay up late and watch movies and stuff. And so there would be times where it would be midnight. So it's technically my cheat day, and I would eat. I just would, like, because to me, it's about that okay, that is technically Sunday, and I tell myself Sunday is my cheat day. So for me, my personal rule is like anything past that. Now, it's been a pretty long time ago since I've wanted to do that. Like generally speaking, I'm out by like, I don't know, 9, 10 o'clock on Saturday night. I'm passed out on the couch. So I kind of just sleep through that whole thing. But it's just not as much of a thing anymore with me. It's just like, Sunday is my day off, but I just don't I don't need it like I used to, as far as like, I used to need it for like accountability and sticking with my plan. But now it's just like, I'm so used to it. It's just like, I don't need it as much. So hopefully that helps you. And when does it end? Well, midnight, midnight on Sunday for all practical. I mean, well, technically it'd be like 11:59 p.m. On Sunday night. However, again, I go to bed usually around 8 or 9. Well, maybe like 9-ish. So, generally speaking, I'm in bed and I'm asleep by that time. So I don't like eat all the way till midnight on what would technically be Monday or anything. I always was really careful. One thing I did have to be careful of was on Sunday. Sometimes what would happen is I would eat and stuff, and then like by 4:30 I was like full, didn't really want to. I was not hungry at supper time. I was like, I'm not going to eat, and then that would make OMAD harder on Monday. So I did always, I am still always like, okay, I do want to eat supper of some sort on Sunday, some sort of meal at about 6 or 6:30. And if I want something later, I'll have that too. But that's just generally how my day looks. Julie Smith asked, how she had some nice comments, but thank you, Julie. How long does it take you to eat your one meal? Do you take it slow, like an hour? And also, do you eat more at your meal now so you don't lose more weight? And how do you maintain without losing more? Okay, so let's see. How long does it take me to eat my meal? I still have never like timed it. So many people ask me, but it really is just like sit down and eat. I don't like say, well, this needs to last a certain amount of time. It really depends on what we're eating and how much the kids are talking and what kind of conversations we get into. So I don't even watch the clock. But I would guess probably 30, maybe 40 minutes I would think. Jay, do you think that's
Yeah.
fair?
That sounds right.
I think that's about right. Do I take it slow? I mean, I do try to eat slowly. I try not to eat fast. I mean, I'm still, like I said, I'm still working on that, but I'm not the type to do really well with the whole savoring it and like chewing my food like 30 times before I swallow it or whatever. But I do try to take the meal slowly, if that makes sense. Like sit there and enjoy it. I don't like I try to not ever have anything like going on right before or right after. Like, so I like for us to sit down calmly to the meal, enjoy our meal, and then go on with the rest of our evening. We don't watch TV either, except for maybe on Saturday night. But otherwise, no devices, no TV. Also, okay, so she also asked, do you eat more at your meal now so you don't lose more weight, and how do you maintain without losing more? So I prefer to try to just, like I've never had that problem yet where it's like, oh, I feel like I'm losing too much weight at this point. Like just like with OMAD, for example, like in 2018, it's 2017 to 2018, so late 2017 and most of 2018, I was losing more weight. I was doing OMAD 6 days a week, cheat day on Sunday, and walking 6 miles a day, and I was losing on average a third of a pound a week. So my point is, like, weight loss was slow, even when I was being like very, very consistent. So even by being just a little inconsistent, like so occasionally doing, say 2 meals a day, or just occasionally having like a 3 meal day, I found that works for me. Now, if I got to the point, like, because I do prefer OMAD though, so if at some point it was like, okay, you're doing OMAD basically too much because you're getting down to a weight that's too low, it's still, that baffles my mind that I could ever do that. But my tactic at that point would just be to have probably an additional like cheat day or day off. That's how I would prefer to do it. I think I would rather just say, these days I do OMAD, and maybe these 2 days I just take the day off. That's how I would do it. I think it would be difficult to just eat more at the one meal as your tactic, because I feel like, when I eat, for example, like at my meal, at my OMAD, I am full by the end of it. I'm full. Like, so if I got to the point where I'm like too low, I wouldn't want to just eat more at that meal. Like, basically it would be like forcing myself to eat too much. So I would rather just either have an additional meal or just take an additional day off. It just kind of, I'd have to experiment with it. But there you go. But some people find that they can just maintain with OMAD. Just, that's what they do. They just do OMAD, and that keeps them in that range. Let's see. Sweets 205 said, how long did it take before you started seeing results? That's a great question, because it really depends on what you're referring to exactly. So in 2015, I started going to the gym every day. I worked really, really hard in the gym, doing things like CrossFit, powerlifting, all this stuff. I was doing intermittent fasting, but I wasn't being consistent with it. When I was being consistent, I was losing about 1 pound a week, but I thought that was failure. So then I would quit, and I would try to say, well, I need to do this, this, and this to try to lose weight. And all that quitting made my progress much, much slower. Now, when I started, like in 2016 in January, when I said, here is my plan, I wrote down a very, very simple plan. That was intermittent fasting 6 days a week, cheat day on Sunday, walk 6 miles every day, eat whatever I want, during that time, and no counting calories, no limiting carbs. Those were my rules. When I got consistent with that, it was like immediately I started seeing 1 pound a week. Okay. Now that I did have occasional plateaus, but it was like 1 pound a week was consistent when I got consistent. So it was just being inconsistent that was keeping me from getting the good results. So, but I will say, before I move on, some people find it takes about 6 weeks of consistency before they can start seeing results. And that is really hard. I mean, it's really hard to be working hard, doing things that feel hard, and then not see anything happen for 6 weeks. It just is. I mean, that's really disheartening. But consistency over time is what works. And so just don't be in a rush, because being in a rush is what delayed my results by like a year, basically. So Dana Bellamy, hey Dana, thanks for this question. Ask, what is your mindset on cheat day? Do you just eat when you're hungry and stop when you're satisfied? Do you have 3 meals, or do you eat what you want with no rules whatsoever? Okay, so my mindset on cheat day, it's okay. In the beginning, mindset on cheat day was like, this is the thing that keeps me consistent through the week. So like during those times where I was like, oh man, that sandwich looks so good right now. Like somebody be eating a sandwich for lunch and I couldn't have lunch, right? Like it was like, oh, I wish I could have lunch. I would say, I can't have it right now, but I can have it on cheat day. So it would just give me this like willpower boost. Okay. So it was basically like this reward for not for being good, because I never ever took cheat day away from myself. So even if I messed up through the week, had days off or whatever, I still gave myself cheat day. But my mindset really became about eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full, be looser today than you are through the week. As far as like, I mean, I could do OMAD, right? Like I do OMAD every other day of the week. So I could do OMAD on Sunday. But first of all, my husband makes pancakes in the morning. And that is a family thing that we do together. And I enjoy that. Even though that's not my normal routine, I do enjoy getting up and having breakfast. And so then throughout the rest of the day, it depends on the week. There are some weeks where I'm like, after that breakfast, I am full until supper. And then other times I'm like, I can have lunch and then I can have supper. Let's have a snack, And it's just, there are no rules. And I think that's important to just say, there's no rules for today. There's no expectations. The only thing I don't want to do is just stressy or emotionally eat, just sit there and, eat my feelings. That I don't want to do. Keeping it clean asked, do you find with intermittent fasting that you have more energy, and has it ever affected your sleep? So yes, I have so much more energy. Now, let me say also, I also lost 80 pounds. So that gives you more energy, I think, as far as like, you're not lugging around 80 pounds, which is a lot of weight. So I feel like I have a lot more energy. When I wake up in the morning, I actually want to be awake. And it's like, yay, like I'm ready to start my day. Whereas when I was obese, it was like I would wake up feeling exhausted. Like I always felt like I just can't get enough sleep. Now, and here's the weird part. With intermittent fasting, I actually sleep less in general. Now, I mean, it kind of takes it by spells, but there are times where I will wake up early. I mean, I don't know, like 5 hours of sleep, and I am ready and raring to go. So in that way, it's affected my sleep in that I don't require as much. It's not that I'm sleeping badly. It's not that I'm not sleeping enough. It's just I don't need as much in order to feel great. So that's how intermittent fasting has affected my energy and sleep. Okay, on Instagram, and you can follow me on Instagram. Kayla M. Cox is my handle. It's not just about fasting. It's sometimes about like our full-time RV life and just my kids and homeschooling and all that good stuff. So it's just everything. It's more of a personal account than a business type, whatever, brand account. Let's see. Taking down the fat with C-Deb. So Chris, that's his name in real life, Chris Wyatt, he asked this question, but you should check out his interview, the intermittent fasting success story I did on this channel with him. His story is great. He's lost 120 pounds. Really, we have a lot of the same philosophies. Great guy. And you can check out that playlist too of all the intermittent fasting success stories, which I think are a great place to go get motivated, see that it's possible, see other people have done it. That's one thing that really helped me when I was losing weight, was to see other people do this. I can do it too, right? So, okay. So some asked my wife if my weight loss changed my personality, and it got me to thinking. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on your journey. Did losing the weight change your personality? And so this was something I was so worried about. Like when I wanted to lose weight, I was like, yeah, but I mean, yeah, I could lose weight, but I'll probably be a jerk. Like if I lose weight and I'm down at a normal weight, like I was afraid I would become really vain, or just not nice, or judgmental, or just a lot of bad negative traits. So I was nervous about that, and I really do think it kind of made me self-sabotage some, because I was afraid. I was afraid of success with weight loss. So, but eventually I told myself, look, take it a pound at a time, monitor yourself for like how you're feeling, and just see, like you'll be able to tell if that's happening. But as I lost the weight, positive things started to happen. First of all, confidence level went up. Not cocky or anything, just like being confident, being able to like Jay tells me that this is one of the things he did notice more than even the weight per se, is the confidence that came with it. Like that I, just he can tell that I'm more confident, which is a good thing. It made me want to do more with my life because of that. Like, for example, one thing was Kinship United had approached me one time about when I was obese. They're like, oh, could you come down? We're at this convention, and we would love it if people could like, because we donated some to their charity, and they were like, if you could just come help us at the booth, that would be great. And I told them no. And I made up an excuse about like how we couldn't do it right then or whatever. But the truth was, I didn't feel confident because I was overweight, and I just didn't feel like I could do that. Like I could talk to people and that kind of thing. I was too embarrassed. But as I lost weight, that stuff started going away. And it was like, I can put myself out there more. I ended up doing the fundraiser for Jez as well, which was awesome, and certainly not something I would have done when I was obese, because of how I was holding myself back. Not because I couldn't have done that as an obese person, but just because I was holding myself back because of the weight. I've become less judgmental overall. I mean, first of all, I think I have empathy for other people more than I did when I was overweight, which is odd. I mean, I was a lot more judgy back then. I was probably more threatened by people. I would see other people losing weight, and instead of being happy for them, I would be jealous of them. I mean, I'm ashamed to admit that, but I was. And so, but now when people are, succeeding around me, I see people having success, I'm happy for them. So yeah, I think I'm a much better person as far as personality wise because of the weight loss. Not to say that I was a horrible person before, but I do think I've had some major improvements. So yes, it changed my personality, but I think for the better. Let's see. Terry Brady asked, have you ever thought about cutting back on the number of intermittent fasting days you do? I've thought about it. I think everybody who does intermittent fasting thinks about that kind of thing. I think a lot of times in the beginning for me, I was so worried about metabolism. I was like, oh man, like I can do this, in the beginning, but what if it screws up my metabolism? Maybe I should try to figure out a way, after I get down to my weight, that I could maintain in some other way besides intermittent fasting, because I never want to screw up my health, right? But as time has gone on, I've started to, see stories of people who have done intermittent fasting, OMAD, even like OMAD specifically, for years and years, like Stanley McChrystal, he was the now I can't remember what his title was. General. He's a general. He was the leader of the joint forces. I can't remember. It was a while back, but he's a major Army guy, and he has done OMAD for, I can't remember. I think it's at least been a decade or so or more. That's just been his way of eating. And seeing someone like that with that kind of like stressful job, but that he needs to be in top condition for, made me have more confidence with it. And so then the only other reason I would want to cut back is if, just lifestyle wise, it just doesn't make sense, right? Right now it makes great sense for my life. Like, it works out best if I can wake up and just kind of like have coffee and not have to worry about eating throughout the day until I get to my evening meal, and then just have that time to eat. That I just get a lot more done in the day. But now, could my life change? And then it's like, ooh, intermittent fasting is more of a burden than it fits. And so then I would reevaluate. But as far as just cutting back, just to cut back, I don't see a need for it at this point. Larry Benoit, I don't know. Hopefully I pronounced it right. Said to reach my goal of 185 today, down 80 pounds. Congratulations. That is awesome. That is so awesome. Congratulations. 80 pounds down. That is fantastic. Okay. So any suggestions about maintenance? Yes. Have a plan. Be intentional. Don't go back to eating the way you used to eat, because you will go back to weighing what you used to weigh. And I think one thing with maintenance is to remember, it's just like losing weight. It's a little bit different because you have more freedom, and you kind of have to figure it out again. Like, just like you had to figure out how to lose weight, now you have to figure out how are you going to maintain. Like, what do you want your life to look like? I would suggest asking yourself that. What do you want your life to look like? And then say, okay, let me make a plan that looks like that, and let's test it out. See, does that work? Does it not? And then just make little corrections. I give myself a 5-pound leeway, like I was talking about earlier. My goal is to stay within my 7-day average stays within like a 5-pound range. That's my goal. It's good to have goals still. Still have a goal, have a maintenance goal, and then have, I would say, other goals that you're striving for, because when you're striving for the weight loss goal, it's like you're focused on that, and then as soon as you achieve it, it can kind of be like, well, now what? If you don't have any other goals. So have other goals. Make goals in like all areas of your life if you can, like family type goals, relationship goals, money goals, career goals, what else? Just recreational type things, fun things to do, things you want to achieve, and just keep going with your goals. And then just keep yourself accountable. I still weigh every day and keep track of my 7-day average. Like I said, I try to keep it in that range. If it goes above that range, I don't worry about it. It's like I know how to lose back down if I need to. But it's about figuring out, where do you want to be? Where do you feel comfortable? Maybe a 5-pound range is too tight for you. Maybe you want to say a 10-pound range. Normal weight does fluctuate within a 10-pound range. Okay. So like if like you're at 185, probably in the course, just a regular course of time, you'll find, your daily weight may go from 185 to a high day weight of 195, and just probably overall is going to maintain right around 185. But just know that you may see higher numbers occasionally. That's just human nature, basically. But and so just figure out what works for you. Some people's weight doesn't fluctuate nearly that much, and so then maybe 5 pounds is like too much for you. You just got to figure out, where do you feel comfortable? Where do you want to be at? What kind of range? Having a range, though, I would say is a good idea, as opposed to just saying, I always want to weigh 185, because that ain't going to happen. Probably it's going to be like, some days it'll be 186 and some days it'll be 183, and just kind of keep that average in mind. Okay, hopefully that helps you, Larry. But congratulations, that's so good. Mrs. Pink 64. Oh, and hey, Larry, if you'd like to be a guest, send me an email, Kayla@sixmilesofsuffer.com. Okay, Mrs. Pink 64 says, hi there. I am staying in Wonderland. Yay! Started at 211, weighing daily since Christmas Day. Today I was 200.9. Okay, no big deal. Should I ever not weigh myself, like after a cheat day? So you're doing this 18.6. Okay, here's what I would say. I love weighing every day. And here's why. You just stay in the habit. And if you just say, I just weigh every day, and it's just like what I do, like then you don't have to think about it. It's just like you're on autopilot. A decision you have to make, you don't have to think, should I weigh today? Should I not? What did I have yesterday? You know, what can also happen is you can kind of start to get nervous, like, oh, I had this thing. So then I'm not going to, just instead say, I just weigh every day. And I'm just going to watch how this number kind of changes based on how much does it change after cheat day? How much does it change on my period? How much does it change, after, I've had red wine or, just kind of like be curious about it and don't let your emotions be ruled by the scale. Just say, this is a tool. And the scale is a wonderful slave and a horrible master, right? So congratulations, though, about you're losing weight and you're up just a little bit and it's no big deal. Just don't get nervous. Like, it was actually really freeing to me that I weighed myself consistently and kind of paid attention to, like, for example, Mexican food, Chinese food. Wow, puts on lots of water weight for me, but it's a very temporary thing. It's like a couple of days and the weight is back off. And learning that was freeing. It was like, oh, well, yeah, the weight goes up the next day, but it's not like true weight gain. It's just water weight. It comes on, it goes off. So yeah, don't like freak out about the scale and just don't think of it as in an emotional way. Just like look at it as data collection. And I think making notes too is good too. That way you can kind of look back and say, oh yeah, the last time I had Mexican, that's what happened too. So, okay, Marcia said, would you suggest doing 2 meals a day or OMAD to start to lose weight? I like the 1 meal to lose, but I wanted your thoughts. Okay. I suggest when people first start intermittent fasting, just push breakfast out a little later and then push it till maybe lunch is your first meal. And always go with like what you feel like you can do. And it feels pretty easy. Err on the side of it feeling a little too easy than too hard. Because if it's too difficult, if it's too weird, you may get frustrated and it's just like you'll just throw the whole thing out the window. But instead, just, go slow with it. But if, for example, you don't really like eating breakfast anyway, and it's like really easy to just say, okay, lunch is my first meal. I would say try that for a while and then go to OMAD. Now, if OMAD just works for you right out the gate, it does for some people. There's like a group of people who they just decided one day, I'm going to do OMAD. And they just started doing OMAD and they're fine with it. But a lot of people find that it's too big of an adjustment to just go straight to it. So I would say kind of just go slow, be patient with yourself, and don't expect like really, really fast weight loss with any of this stuff. Like a pound a week is a great thing to shoot for when you're being really consistent. But some people lose slower than that, and that's totally fine. Okay, so... but some people lose, people lose on 16/8, so that's 2 meals a day. And some people lose on even shorter fasting windows than that. So just experiment with it. Sarah C. said, do you feel like there can be a positive side to just keeping your eating plan to yourself? I really crave community support, but hate the judgment of not doing the plan right. I'm so glad you brought this up. Yes. I think there's a very positive side to keeping it to yourself. That's exactly what I did. It took me losing the weight and keeping it off for a year, not telling anybody really what I was doing at all, before I felt even kind of remotely confident in making the first YouTube video that I made. I see a lot of people on like Instagram and stuff who are trying to lose weight, and then they're posting, pictures of their food, they're looking for community support, and I get that. But then I also see those same people getting, told, oh, well, if you would cut out those carbs, or if you wouldn't eat that chocolate, or if you would eat more greens, or whatever the thing is, like, they're constantly getting criticized for the plan. It's like, you can't please anybody with what you're eating ever. Like, it does not matter. You're always going to have people who are going to criticize your eating plan. And so I think it's important to protect yourself. And I would say keeping it to yourself is a good plan. Now, see, and this is kind of the tough part, is the community support, because you want to be around, if you're going to have community support, you want to be around a group of people who are going to actually support you and not criticize. And that is a tough thing to find. I try in our, like, the group, we've got a very small group of people on our Facebook group. And that's the thing that I'm always kind of like on the watch out for, is I don't want people to think there's only one way to do a thing, because there's not. There's a lot of perfectly good ways to lose weight. There's a lot of eating plans that are perfectly fine. And it's really more important that you just find the thing that works for you. And there is no right or wrong. That's the thing. There really isn't a right or wrong thing. It's more about what can you stick with, what's giving you results, what makes you feel good, what works with your life. So I would say, if you do find that you're in a place and you're getting, judgment and all that stuff, it's okay to just kind of like do your own thing and just and keep it to yourself, and just work your plan, and just let your results speak for themselves. I think that's a perfectly fine way of doing it. That's basically what I did. So and I still do not post like pictures of what I'm eating. People are constantly asking me like, oh, could you just post like what you're eating all the time? It's like, no, I will not do that. I just won't, because I know it's like, no matter what I eat, people are going to find fault with it. They're going to pick it apart, and then that's going to mess with my head. So I just don't do it. I don't participate in all that madness. But because I don't really think eating plans as such, like as far as like meal plans, like, oh, you should eat this, this, and this. I don't like it. I don't provide them. I don't like that idea. I think you should figure out the foods you like, and then figure out how you can eat those and still lose weight, because I think it can be done. Let's see. Cheryl Darce asked, I've been watching a lot of your videos, very inspiring. Thanks. I really want to do this OMAD. Kind of hard sticking to it, but I'm not going to give up. My downfall is sweets. Well, I eat sweets. I have them at my one meal, or I have them on cheat day. So I would say, so hopefully you know from me that, I mean, whatever you're trying to do, as far as if you're trying to cut out sweets, I don't do that. But OMAD, I think, again, if you're just trying to jump right to it, it can feel so much more difficult than if you just slowly get there. And I went very, very slowly to get there. It took me, I had been doing intermittent fasting for like a year. And then when I got really consistent with intermittent fasting, like as far as I said, okay, 6 days a week I'm doing this thing, it still took me from January, I started at about a 16.8, and it took me until about April to get to OMAD. And I got there accidentally, but keep at it, Cheryl. You're going to do fine. You just be stubborn and just say, I'm going to get there eventually. I'm not going to be good at it at first, but I will eventually get good at it. It's a skill. Fasting is a skill. It just is. Carolyn S. Once you started intermittent fasting, how long did it take you to go from a 16.8 to 18.6 all the way to OMAD? Well, I just talked about that. Were you doing OMAD when you lost most of your weight? Okay, yeah. So in 2015, I lost, like I said, I lost about 20 pounds, and I started putting the weight back on. So during that time when I was being consistent, and during that time, I had heard that anything longer than a 14-hour fast was bad for women, so I wanted to try to stick to that. So I would sometimes push it to like a 16-hour fast at the most. But when I got really consistent, as far as like going from a 16.8 down to an 18.6. That was probably took about, I don't know, say probably a month. And then it probably took me another month to get down to like a 24. And then once I got down to a 24, that's when I took kind of the leap to OMAD. And again, that was something like stomach bug went through our house. I said, I don't want to eat. I was like so nervous that I was going to get sick that I just couldn't bring myself to eat until about supper. I just made myself eat. But then after that point, I was like, that was kind of, that's an interesting way of structuring my day, like just not eating until supper. I thought, I wonder if that's a thing. Like, could you just eat one meal a day? So I looked it up, saw that people do it, and then I just kept going with it. I actually hit a plateau right after that point. I dropped like 6 pounds that week. And then after that, I plateaued for like 5 or 6 weeks. And then the weight started coming off again at about a pound a week. Let's see. Gabriel Velasquez. Oh, so yes. So then, Carolyn, also to answer your question, OMAD, like when I specifically got to OMAD, I think I was at 186. So OMAD took me then from like 186 down to 142, 140, 142. Yeah. So there you go. So the majority of my weight was on OMAD. Gabriel Velasquez said, "What type of fasting is better for lifting weights? Lifting weights for muscle growth?" That's a really good question, and one I don't really know the answer to. I can tell you just some of my own experiences. When I was in 2015, I was into powerlifting, and because I was going to the gym, and it was like the only thing that appealed to me. I've never been a big cardio person, but the way I've heard it explained, and I don't know, but the way I've heard it explained is it's very difficult to have like competing goals. Gaining strength and trying to lose weight, you're kind of like, you're trying to do two things at once, which is difficult. Because when you're in a deficit, you're trying to like lose fat. And when you're trying to build muscle, you kind of need more. And I'm not good at that. So, but what I can tell you is I did notice or I have noticed more recently, because that was a while back. So I was doing, like I said, 14-hour fast at that point, maybe sometimes a 16-8. And I did fine, but I also did get injured doing a deadlift. Now, I don't think that had anything to do with intermittent fasting. My injury came from me wanting to lift weights that I was not yet ready for. That was basically it, and probably poor form on that deadlift. But I have noticed, like I said, I've just been doing push-ups. That's all I'm doing. It's just push-ups, right? But I do notice a bit more. Let's see, what would I say? I do feel like the muscle is getting, toned or whatever, and I certainly have noticed more muscle like on my chest and stuff. But the actual like feeling of kind of like weakness there, as opposed to, I don't know, I just feel like probably with OMAD and trying to build muscle, I don't know if that's the best combination. In other words, I think the best way to do it is to be in a bit of a like a surplus, or at least maintenance calories, right? So OMAD maybe just doesn't provide enough of those. So I would say if you're trying to go for muscle growth, then experiment and see how you're feeling too, because you definitely want to feel good while you're lifting weights. You want to have enough energy and all that good stuff. So hopefully that helps you. Cheryl Darce asked, does the scale go up a little on Monday after your cheat day? Yeah. Yeah, it does. I think in general, I think it's about 2 pounds. Sometimes it's only 1. Sometimes it's low. Sometimes it's like a low number. I'm like, what is going on? But that just goes to show you the scale sometimes does funky things, and you just kind of have to say, okay, well, that's interesting. But yeah, usually it goes up a little bit on Monday. SDEJOH says, are you eating just meats? No, I eat carbs. I eat a lot of carbs. I mean, I eat meat too. I eat meat and carbs, and so I eat bread, I eat vegetables, I eat fruits, I eat, some sweets. I don't eat a whole lot of sweets, generally speaking, but I will eat them. I just eat everything. Like it's not high anything. Maybe it's probably more high carb than anything else. Sarah C said, I've noticed you almost always wear a blue t-shirt. Is that just part of keeping life simple? Yeah. Actually, yeah, it is. Back a long time ago, not long, well, a few years ago, I heard about how Steve Jobs just, he wanted to keep his wardrobe really simple. Like, so, his wardrobe at one point was basically just like a black turtleneck and jeans or whatever. But it's kind of related to decision fatigue, just trying to make your life easy in general, like kind of putting yourself on autopilot. And so, yeah, like I bought, I bought this shirt, and there's one that's gray. So sometimes I do switch out the color a little bit. But then I've got a couple of other blue shirts. And yeah, it is. I mean, we're also full-time RVers at this point. And so it was necessary to like really cut down on our clothing in general. But I just, I'm a t-shirt and jeans kind of person. And so that's what I do. I just have, several blue t-shirts. Basically, I have like a gray one. That's pretty much my rotating uniform. But I like it. It's really nice to not have to sit there and use up my energy to like figure out what I'm going to wear. I've never been much for like that anyway, like figuring out outfits. So yeah, it's just keeping life simple. Mr. Anonymous said, how many pounds per week do we lose? I'm doing a 16-8 and now starting to eat low calories. Okay. So it depends on how much you have to lose. If you're currently obese or very overweight, so like on the high side of the BMI in overweight, I would say a pound a week is something good to shoot for. Some people do lose a bit faster. I think Chris Wyatt lost faster than that. I want to say. I can't remember his exact timeline, but if you are getting closer to the normal BMI, start to expect it to kind of dwindle a bit. That's just my experience, the experience of other people that I've kind of seen that have shared their experiences with me. A third of a pound a week is what I lost at. Some people lose even slower than that. It just kind of creeps down as you get into a normal BMI because, well, you're at a normal, normal weight there. And your body may, my own theory with that is like, that's kind of where you need to be. So that's maybe why your body kind of hangs on to that. But don't be in a hurry. That's the big thing. Don't be in a hurry. Just like be calm, be really patient with it. Everybody's different. Some people lose fast, some people lose really slow. And the main thing is just be really consistent and take your time with it. And realize that that's on average too. So some weeks the scale maybe won't move at all. And other weeks it might go up a little bit. But then you might have a whoosh. That happens to some people. Like they'll have, the weight just kind of stays the same, maybe goes up a little bit, and then it goes down. And then it just kind of levels out, and then it goes down again. Just everybody's different. BVA said, eating too mad within a 5-hour window, don't snack. My first meal is breakfast food. Having a hard time trying to incorporate some of the food I have in my cabinets and fridge. That is a constant thing, I would imagine. It's easier for me now because I've kind of gotten over that whole like, oh well, you can't have. I used to have a hard time like saying like I could have an apple with my supper. It just seemed weird, but I'll do that now. Like if I'm craving an apple, I'll just have it, have it with supper or pickles or whatever the thing is. That and certainly breakfast for supper is something I do sometimes. I really enjoy breakfast food. So
and our kids eat everything.
And our kids, yeah, that's the thing though. But ultimately, my kids eat all the food in our fridge and in our cabinets, and we're constantly having to get freeze your thinking to like, oh, well, that's a breakfast food. Like, just have breakfast for dinner. Or, if it's something you normally wouldn't eat together, try it. You might be surprised. I've had some weird combinations, and they really can work. So, yeah, just and then, and eventually you'll figure out like, well, what do I want to have on hand and what do I not? Sandy Ocean, appreciate the encouragement. Oh, great. I can be my own worst critic, but so far I have kept to my 6-hour eating window for 2 weeks. Yay! It's not always the healthiest, but it's progress. Hey, and focus on that progress. It sounds like you're doing great. And let me tell you, I think we are all our own worst critic. I certainly am. And I think everybody has that struggle of like, they're so hard on themselves. You're so hard on yourself. You're really forgiving of other people, and you understand when other people like have trouble or fail or something. But man, if you slip up, it's like you just browbeat yourself. Or that's how I used to be, and I still am working on that. But congratulations, you're making progress. And 2 weeks, that's awesome. Just keep going with it, and you're going to do great. So you guys, time is up. So thank you so much for all of your questions, for joining me here. I hope it was helpful. And I hope you have an excellent rest of your week. Just keep at it. You can totally do this, and you'll totally hit your goals if you just keep going and don't quit. So I will see you guys next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Wednesdays.